So it's Bonnie Baker interviewing for Metal Wani magazine with Mike Spreitzer. You guys have been killing it with Relentless touring around North America and Europe. How's the tour been going so far?
Well, we started off touring on this record cycle with Hatebreed in the States, and that tour actually went a lot better than expected. It went so well, we're doing another tour with them at the, I have about 3 weeks off after this tour, and then we're going out for another 5 weeks in the States with them doing different markets. And this tour has been great as well. I mean, even some of we got booked some odd festivals, one in particular in Germany where I think we were the only metal band.
Which was that?
I don't remember the name of it. But definitely we were a little worried, like we're going to be scaring everyone out of this festival. But it ended up going great. People loved it. So no complaints here. And ending the tour with Ministry is a childhood dream of mine. Al Jurgensen has been an idol of mine, and Ministry was definitely the gateway into industrial music for me, which, if I had my choice back in the day, I would be in an industrial band, I wouldn't be in a metal band.
Okay.
It'd kind of be a cross of both, but there would definitely be a lot more industrial influence in it.
Cool. Your newest album, Trust No One, has just been recently released. What would you say the response has been?
Well, it's been really good. I was really nervous about doing this record because we had a huge lineup change. We've had to replace 3 members in the band. And the main songwriter, John Berkland, left the band, so the style of music was definitely going to change, leaving me as the sole songwriter in the beginning of it. But eventually we hired Austin Diamond and Neil Tiemann, and I was really happy when they came in. At first I was a little standoffish, like, no, I'm going to write the whole record by myself. I don't want a writing partner. I don't want anybody. They're just going to fuck it all up and drive me crazy. But I think that was mainly because writing with the old guys, even though they're very good friends of mine, the writing process was a little bumpy, you know, and with the new guys, it's about as smooth as you can get. But the overall response was great. So I know there's some people out there that weren't particularly, impressed, but when a band is on their 7th record, it's pretty hard to really impress people. But we sold 1,000 more units than we did on this record than we did the last 2, and definitely one of the greatest moments of my life when I saw that, because I got to have a heavy hand in the writing process on this record.
This is the first album with new guitarist Neil and drummer Austin. It's not very often we see new members being given an opportunity to write songs for the album. How have they inspired you to include them in the songwriting process?
By just being badass musicians, for one. And yeah, Neil had a good 10 to 12 songs that he presented to me when he first joined the band. And some of them I liked, some of them I didn't. I felt like they needed a lot of work to get up to the point where we needed them. And Daybreak was actually the first song that we worked on together. And because when we first started writing, I was kind of testing the waters with him. And I didn't want to, a writer can be very defensive with their own material and having people put their input on it. So I knew right off the bat it would be better for me to work on one of his songs. And let me put influence on his songs. And honestly, we didn't really change that much to Daybreak when we started working on it. And when I decided to take myself out of the mix when we were going to decide which the first song was going to be released for the record, because I was way too attached to the record. I knew which song I wanted to be released, but I knew that I had a different opinion than what was probably the best idea for the single, and our manager picked Daybreak, and I think the record label did as well too. And I was a little like, really? That's like the more rock song on the record, but as soon as I started playing it live, I was like, dude, this song is so much fun to play, and it's actually one of my favorite parts of the set is playing Daybreak. So it's things that kind of come full circle. When I first joined the band, about 2 years after the band formed, I joined, and they didn't really let me write very much. They didn't want me to write very much, but I wrote Hold Back the Day, which ended up being the first single off that, Fear of Our Maker's Hand, which gave me a big upper hand because once that was released, the record label and Dez forced the other guys to saying, dude, you gotta let Mike write more. Like, whether you like it or not, you have to. And so I was secretly like, yes, you know, and, but now it's come full circle. Got a new guitar player in the band, and the first song that he wrote ended up being the single.
Both Neil and Austin have been a great addition to the band. Having known Austin and followed his previous band, Chimera, I clearly hear his influence on the album. It's always inspiring to see new members up the game so high and make the existing members think as well, isn't it?
I had never met Austin before he joined the band.
Okay.
He was recommended to us by our producer, Mark Lewis, who had been working with us on, I think, 3 or 4 records at this point now. And we hired him without trying him out. He just basically, he had such a good reputation, and I watched a few videos of him doing drum solos on YouTube. And luckily Chimera had just broken up literally months before we needed a drummer. But he's been great having him in the band. He's always in a good mood. He's become one of my best friends, and our personalities just go together perfectly. I mean, we're just both total smart asses, and you know, just act like complete dumbasses all the time. It's awesome to have someone around that actually gets my personality. But and he's a great drummer. I mean, absolutely the greatest drummer I've ever worked with.
Awesome. Okay, you guys teamed up once again with producer Mark Lewis. This is an amazing collaboration. I can't think of any other producer understanding the production, the sound, and the vibe of the band so well. I'm sure he's made you guys sweat relentlessly. How was it working with him this time?
It's always been really cool working with Mark because he cares a lot about the music, and he cares a lot about the sound. And I felt like it was important to have him on this record because he had worked with us so much in the past, and with the lineup change, I thought having a new producer might be pushing it a little bit too much. Because there were a couple other names floating around, but I just built a new studio in my house, and we did all the pre-production, guitars and bass there, and Mark lived with me the whole time on the record. And I really didn't want some strange dude living in my house that I didn't know. I'm sure it probably would have been fine, but Mark and I have known each other for almost a decade, and those were 2 of the main factors. One being he knows what Devildriver is supposed to sound like. He knows how to work with Dez on vocals. He's a great mixer, and he's never shy of saying, no, that sucks, that needs to be changed, or we can make that better. And those are the main reasons why I felt it was important to go with Mark.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Metal has been a driving force for millions around the world, be it heavy, extreme, or soft. It has changed lives, and lyrics have played an important role in shaping this entire feeling. There are bands which obviously harness this, but many also who neglect their lyrical content. What do you think about the bands these days that write good music but don't focus on the lyrical aspect?
I'm one of those guys that does not focus on the lyrical content. I've been finding myself listening to a lot more country, mostly outlaw country. I'm not talking Taylor Swift or anything like that shit. Like Hank Williams, Hank 3, Dwight Yoakam, there's a guy named Richard Thompson that I've been listening to. 16 Horsepower. I've been listening to them since high school. They were the first band. I got Dez into them, and I just saw Woven Hand recently open up for Chelsea Wolfe out in the States. And that was probably the first band that I started really paying attention to the lyrics, because David Eugene Edwards is an amazing lyricist. And I don't really agree with him on a lot of aspects because he's highly Christian. And I am very not Christian, but I I don't care, you know.
There's something else that it's very something spiritual, and he's very questioning of it as well.
He is. I've read some interviews with him where he doesn't really like the institution of Christianity, but he said he's like, this is what I believe in. This is for myself. You know, I highly doubt you see him visiting the Vatican or anything like that if he went to Italy. That's just my guess from what I've heard from him. But his lyrics are very dark. And like Black Soul Choir, I mean, there's a lyric in that song about offering up a brick to the back of somebody's head.
Yeah, it's a Bible reference, but
it's
anything, right? But
it's still dark.
It's super dark.
Yeah. And you know, led perfect to make it into a metal song as well. But yeah, in metal, I don't know why. I just don't really pay attention to lyrics for them. I pay attention about how they're sung and how they fit into the music rather than what they're actually about. Just me. This is always the way I've been. Yeah. But when I listen to Hank 3, I'm laughing my ass off half the time, you know, because he's, you know, blaming about all the stupid shit he did because of the pills he took, or you know, or just getting fucked up at bars, and just they're good, funny, awesome stories. But you don't really see a lot of that in metal. At least not from my point of view.
So more about the overall kind of feeling of the track.
For me, yeah.
Okay, Devildriver has been around since the early 2000s. How much would you say the band's style has changed since the early days?
A lot. I think the only thing that's kept us from not changing too much is Dez's vocal approach has, I guess, always remained somewhat the same. But the music has changed a lot. The first record was written prominently by a guy named Evan Pitts, who I ended up replacing. And then when I joined the band, it became more of a collective thing between me, John Berkland, Jeff Kendrick, John Miller. So it was the four of us doing a bulk of the writing over time. Then John Miller left the band, and then it became, Jeff wasn't really much of a writer, but eventually, like when we got to around the Winter Kills album, it was pretty much just me and John Berkland writing that record. And now it's changed once again, where it's, I wrote the majority of this record, but the next record I definitely want to bring Austin and Neil in and let them put more of their influence into Devildriver, because I definitely feel like it's worthy.
Cool. You guys have toured with countless bands over the years. Are there any bands in particular that you would like to bring out on the road with you someday?
Bring out on the road? I think there's more bands that I would actually like to go out that need to bring us out than me bring them out. Like Metallica is definitely one that I want to go out with. Gojira. You know, there's been a couple times where we've almost gone out with Gojira a few times, and it ended up getting canceled for one reason or another. We are doing 70,000 tons of metal with Gojira, I just found out the other day, which is awesome. But as far as Dez asked me about bands that we could take out, because we are, you know, been talking about headlining next year, and Fallujah is a band that keeps on coming up. I think they're one of the newer bands that I've noticed that is really cool. But I would say Whitechapel, but we've already done 2 tours with them. So we've already done that. But there's really, I don't listen to a whole lot of new metal these days. It's kind of hard. I think I'm a little bit of a metal snob now. And it's very hard for me to find a new metal band that I actually really, really like. Siri, go away. Why are you opening up? Okay, that was weird.
Cool. Okay. You guys are on the bill for the first ever Notfest meets Ozfest. How excited are you to be part of something like this?
Awesome. We've already done it once, which is very cool. And when I was a kid, I went to go see Ozfest in '99 and 2000. And all I could think about the whole time I was there was, you know, I just wanted to be up on that stage so bad. And to be able to do that. And my first tour in the States with Devildriver ended up being Ozfest in 2004. And I was just over the moon. I was on cloud 9 the whole time. I didn't even want to go home. Everyone's like, it's been 2 months, I want to go home. Like, I don't. And God, I think I've done. We did that one Knotfest. We're actually doing the Ozfest date on this one coming up, but I think I've done like 5 or 6 Ozfests now, and I still can't believe it. So it's always exciting for me. It's not quite as exciting as it was when I was 23 years old, but being 35 is still pretty cool. I'll take it.
Cool. So what's next for Devildriver?
Well, like I said, we got that, after this show today, we got kind of a grueling haul to get to the Ukraine to headline a festival there tomorrow. Back to LA, 3 weeks off, 5 weeks on with Hatebreed and Devil You Know. Then I believe we're going to be taking all of November and December off. And there's been talk of us planning some tours over here, possibly February, March. And it's a little early to say, but we're definitely going to be very busy next year. And we'll probably be over here for the summer festival season, Download, Grass Pop, Rock and Rain, Rock and Park, we came over here for Vakken this year, which is kind of later in the summertime. So I imagine more than likely we'll be doing a lot of the earlier festivals next time around. And probably take some time off and do another record once this touring cycle is done.
Great. Hey, thank you very much.
All good?